What's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video. We're going to discuss the 5 most important hormones for young men to be paying attention to and monitoring. If you're new to the channel, make sure you click subscribe, turn the notifications on because I'm posting content like this weekly as it pertains to optimizing your physique, your confidence, and everything about being a man. If you're a returning subscriber, I'm so grateful to have you here. As I said, we're going to cover the 5 most important hormones that you should be paying attention to and monitoring. Now, when it comes to monitoring them, the best way to do this is going to be through blood work and looking at trends with these things. As it pertains to getting blood work done as a young man, it's very hard to do that very often because doctors will tell you, oh, you're healthy, you don't need to be looking at your hormones and your internal health. I think that's completely ridiculous, and I'll talk about that later in the video. But make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to be discussing all 5 of these hormones, and they're all just as important. So let's get right into it. The first hormone we're gonna discuss is testosterone. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot about testosterone. Really, it's the main male hormone. There's good reason you've heard so much about it. But it's important to understand really what testosterone does, what you might be feeling like if you don't have the optimal levels of testosterone. So when I was younger, in my early 20s, I did not have optimal testosterone levels. Now, on blood test, it showed that I did have, in fact, normal testosterone ranges. But when I reflect back on that now, I definitely was not optimal because I didn't feel very good. My confidence was bad. And there's a lot of things that can play into this, but my confidence wasn't very good. I wasn't very good with women. I didn't, have like the greatest ability to lose body fat. I could put on muscle, but not like super well. And my range of testosterone was always on the lower end of normal, which for a young man should not be that way. Typically on blood tests, you're gonna see anywhere from 300 to 1100 nanograms per deciliter is gonna be the measurement that most labs are gonna show you to say that's normal. So if you're 350 nanograms per deciliter, you're technically still in range, but you're gonna probably not feel very good, especially if you're a young man. I mean, that's what we expect to see in somebody who's in their mid-60s, not a man who's 21 years old, right? So it really just depends on the person. And a lot of clients that I deal with, it's always about looking at, and this is for all these hormones, what the labs say, but also what does the person feel? How are they feeling? Because all of us are gonna feel different at different ranges for all these hormones. Testosterone is basically the main male hormone, as I said. It contributes to everything from your bone mass, your muscle density, to your libido and sexual function, your red blood cell production. It does a lot of things in the body. Optimizing your testosterone levels really affects everything from the ability for you to gain muscle and lose body fat to building confidence in yourself, as well as drive and motivation and things like sleep and just overall your well-being in life. It's not about just looking a certain way, it's about how you feel as well. For most of us, we're gonna wanna be somewhere in the upper end of that range for the majority of us. I know that I feel best because now I do testosterone replacement therapy, but I'm also a bodybuilder, so sometimes I am running dosages that exceed what I'm talking about, but I usually feel best around the 900 to 1,000 if I'm doing testosterone replacement therapy. There's a sweet spot for that. So the next hormone we're gonna talk about is estradiol. Estradiol is a form of estrogen. Now, most people know of estrogen because it is, mainly viewed as the female hormone, but that's not really true. And we need to stop thinking about estrogen like that, estradiol like that. Estradiol is the measurement you'll see most often on blood tests, and this will give you a really good representation of what your estrogen environment looks like. There's other forms of estrogen we're not gonna touch, but we're gonna just talk about estradiol because that's what you're probably gonna see on your lab work. Really, the thing to understand is that the primary way that estradiol exists for men is testosterone is aromatizing through an enzyme called aromatase into estradiol. And those levels need to be in balance with one another. So a lot of people think that, estradiol is an enemy or estrogen is an enemy and you just want to kill it if you're a man, right? You just want it to be completely suppressed. Not true at all. Estradiol is extremely important for a couple of reasons. So estradiol is really important for your libido as well. It's not just about testosterone. Anecdotally speaking, when my estradiol levels are really low and my testosterone levels are high, I don't have hardly any libido. Estradiol plays a massive role in that. It's also very important for brain health. It's very important for cardiovascular health, and it's very important for mood regulation as well. Again, you'll see when people have really low estradiol or really high estradiol that their mood is just not very good. Typically when low estradiol is there, you will have low sex drive, you'll have low energy, you'll be very lethargic, have a hard time sleeping. Those are things you can expect. And then if the estradiol is high, this is where you start seeing a lot of like acne, you start to see a lot of really up and down mood swings, bloating. If you think of like steroids and you think of like the bloated look, that's usually from estradiol levels being left unchecked. But again, we don't want to suppress these too far. There is definitely going to be a very highly individualized preference of where people feel best with their estradiol levels, and that's usually going to be in relation to their testosterone levels and this next hormone I'm going to talk about, which is DHT, dihydrotestosterone. DHT is going to be the third hormone we're going to discuss here. It's a very potent androgen, and it's something that's actually a derivative and comes from testosterone. It's very important, basically determining, the characteristics of men. So it's a highly masculizing hormone. So if females were to take, testosterone or other androgens that are higher in DHT or convert to DHT in a high manner, that's when they start to get a lot of the virilization effects with deeper voice and growing, facial hair, and their clits growing and becoming a lot larger. That's really what is responsible for that. It's very important to understand with DHT that, and it's the same is true with estradiol and testosterone, that really all these hormones, it's how do you feel in relation, it's ratios to one another. Some people might feel really good with higher DHT levels, and other people might feel worse and they get really bad side effects that they don't like from that. Some people are going to have more, hair falling out if their DHT levels are too high. Some people will feel fantastic with higher DHT levels. I know, for example, that I feel really good when my DHT levels are higher. DHT is responsible for a lot of the masculine effects you see when it pertains to hormones. These are going to be things like your bone health, your muscle strength, and size. Arguably, when my DHT levels are higher, I feel extremely strong. And that's because DHT has a lot of effect your nervous system, particularly your sympathetic nervous system, which is when your training is being activated a lot. It's going to be more in relation to how do these ratios of these hormones all work together. And that's where it can be a little bit difficult if you don't have the experience to look at and analyze the stuff yourself. And I'll be honest with you guys, your doctor is never going to give you and help you understand why you might be feeling the way that you do if it's less than ideal because of the way these hormones all work together. That's more on the side of functional medicine, or somebody like me who is a fitness coach and has certifications and has done, a lot of different mentoring to understand how these things all work in conjunction with one another. The next hormone we're going to talk about is growth hormone. So the other hormones we discussed were all sex-related hormones. Growth hormone is a peptide hormone, and you've probably heard of it because you've heard of things like human growth hormone, which is, again, a peptide hormone that you can actually take. And a lot of athletes, bodybuilders take human growth hormone because there's an abundance of positive effects from it. There's also negative effects like everything. Growth hormone is responsible for the growth in your body. It's responsible for cell repair, and it's responsible for your metabolism. This is why you do see a lot of athletes and bodybuilders who are looking to optimize their performance and recovery leverage the utilization of growth hormone, because it can be very beneficial for that. Now, of course, we're not talking about using these things and supplementing with them in this video. That's not what this video is about. This video is just talking about things you should be paying attention to if you go and get your blood work done. Now, typically growth hormone levels are going to peak in your early years, and they kind of maintain a little bit through your 20s. And then once you hit the end of your 20s, they're going to start declining a lot. This is true with testosterone as well, these other hormones. And so as you age, these hormones start to become endogenously less produced in your body. And that's because you're aging and things just change as we age. So if you're getting your blood work done, I definitely recommend adding in a growth hormone panel to check your levels of that. Growth hormone levels are different throughout the day. They're going to peak the most overnight. So it can be kind of hard to test your growth hormone levels if you go in the morning and get a blood test done. Probably not going to be the most accurate representation of that if you're not taking it supplementally. So it can be tough to know exactly, how to track and monitor that. But if you do get a blood test done, you'll see even in the morning if your levels are somewhat within a normal range, and you can research and find out where those levels should be for that time of day for somebody your age. The last of the hormones we're going to talk about are your thyroid hormones. So your thyroid is responsible for outputting hormones that are going to help regulate your growth, your energy levels, and your metabolism. Essentially, it's how you process food and convert it into energy, and how that energy is utilized by your body. Thyroid hormones, basically, you can look at two different ones you're mainly going to want to pay attention to. There's T4 and there's T3, and you've probably heard of these. Your grandmother might take medication for thyroid hormones. And so again, like all these other hormones, as we age, thyroid hormones tend to downregulate, meaning they tend to be produced less. And so what happens is that a lot of people, as they age, they just see a decline in the ability for them to lose body fat, they have less energy, and all kinds of things like that. But again, if you're a young man, you still could be going through this and not even realize it, because no doctors ever ask you to check on these things. In fact, very often, I shouldn't say very often, but sometimes if you have anxiety or depression, it can be caused by all of these things we're talking about, but definitely thyroid hormone issues. If you have hypothyroidism, which is you have too little of a production of thyroid hormone, that can cause depression and anxiety. If you have hyperthyroidism, meaning that you are overproducing thyroid hormone, that can cause anxiety for sure, because basically the body's processes are just sped up a lot more because your metabolism is working so much faster. So T4 is inactive, meaning it's produced by your thyroid gland, and then there's a process where that gets converted into the active hormone called T3. Both of these are very important to pay attention to though. It's not just about T3, it's also about T4, because you can have higher T4 levels but lower T3 levels, and that's showing that somewhere along the way, there is something that is basically preventing that conversion from T4 into T3. You could also have a situation where you have something called higher reverse T3, which means that a lot of that T4 is getting converted into an inactive form of T3 that can't be utilized by the body. I personally have gone through this. Very typical for bodybuilders and competitors like me to have, hypothyroidism when dieting, because as you diet and get leaner and leaner, your body wants to stop the ability for you to lose body fat and weight, because guess what's gonna happen? Your body thinks you're gonna starve to death. So it puts the brakes on this whole system and kind of helps that. But even if you're not somebody that diets really hard for bodybuilding competitions or whatever, you still could have less than ideal thyroid hormones. So it's very important to get that checked out and looked at. So that covers the 5 hormones we talked about: testosterone, estradiol, dihydrotestosterone, DHT, growth hormone, and your thyroid hormones. All of these are essential to get looked at on a blood panel. If you want help reviewing or knowing where to get blood work done or anything like that, reviewing your results and optimizing your hormones, please feel free to go down in the description and book a consultation with me. It's completely free. I'll tell you how to go about doing this, and I will review your blood work and see if we're a good fit to work together. I'm telling you guys right now, this is going to change your life. Optimizing your hormones will change your life. It's completely changed my life, from everything from my confidence to how my body looks, the prospects I have in life, my financial life has completely changed. When I was younger, I had not very good hormone levels. As I've gotten in better shape and optimized this stuff more, my life's completely changed. And I wanna help you do the same thing. So like I said, go down there and book that consultation. I thank you guys for watching this entire video. If you made it the whole way through here, make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and comment about what you wanna see me talk about next, because I'm gonna be putting out videos every week just like this to help you optimize yourself and become the best man you can be. So have a great day or night, depending on whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.